Hello, my name is Jasmine, and today I'm going to be doing a flip through of pre-K Singapore Math Dimensions. So this program, this curriculum comes with the teacher's guide, the workbook, and then also the textbook. And this is for pre-KA. And then next you have the teacher's guide for pre-KB, the textbook, and the workbook. So if you're interested in this curriculum and was not sure about getting it, this is going to be a thorough flip through, so you'll get to see in detail what this curriculum carries. Thank you for joining me, and let's jump in. So this is Dimensions Math, the teacher's guide for PKA. And let's take a look here. So it's going to show you the scope and sequence of PKA in the beginning. Chapter 1 is matching, sorting, and classifying. Chapter 2 is comparing objects. And you'll go all the way to chapter 13. So there's 13 chapters on PKA and PKB. Here in the beginning, before you do any chapter, it has an overview of what your child will be learning, and then it will break down the lessons, the page that the lesson's on, and what page you're going to be using in the textbook and in the workbook as well. And it also has the objectives. So let's jump into chapter 1. This is the chapter opener for chapter 1, where the children will be learning matching, sorting, and classifying. So let's look back here as well. So in the matching, classifying, and sorting, they're going to be sorting colors, red and blue, yellow and green. They're going to be sorting textures, soft and hard, rough, bumpy, and smooth. Then they're going to be learning about sizes and sorting things into 2 groups, and then there's practice. So the first one is opening up with an activity where your child will be getting some objects, and then they'll be sorting them. And so they'll be learning the words same and different as well. So they'll be they'll be using their textbook. This is where you get the deeper learning from your textbooks. Chapter 1, let's turn to our first page. You'll be giving this page to the child, and it's more like a discussion, look and talk. And then it gives you the prompts. You'll discuss the backpacks. Ask the child, what do they notice about the backpacks? There's different sizes, there's different colors, there's different designs. And then you ask about the carpet squares. What's different about the carpet squares? You know, they're different colors and things like that, so forth, right? And then there's another textbook, your activity. You have your explore, how you're going to teach the child it. You can get the same color items for red crayons, or you can get the same color red blocks. And this is sorting and classifying colors here. And let's look at it in the textbook. So they'll be matching as well, the colors. And you have another textbook activity, and you will also be doing a workbook for this. So on page 6, if you look at your scope and sequence, it tells you to do the workbook here. So the workbook for page 6 would be exercise 1. And also, all of the textbook pages are going to be throughout the chapters when it says learn. But when you get to the back of the chapter, the end of the chapter, this is where all your answers are for the workbook. So you can see here that these are the workbooks. So let's see here. You see we have the workbook here, and then the answers, and then you have workbook 2. And then there's the answers, workbook 3, workbook page 4, 5, and so forth. It goes on like that. So lesson 2, you're learning about yellow and green. Lesson 3, you have color review. These are the textures. You're learning about soft and hard. You have your explore. Students may choose to describe size, color, shape, or uses, allow for creative thinking, but you want to provide the students with the objects that are hard and soft. So that's how you explore. Then you have the learning to get in further into depth, more with your textbook. So it has the textbook pages, Same here, the activity that you get to do hands-on, the learning for rough, bumpy, and smooth, sticky and grainy, sizes. So you'll be doing the same thing for sizes, exploring. Show students 2 orange objects that look and feel the same but are different sizes. Examples, carrots, orange blocks, orange boxes, and tangerines. And then you'll show students 3 objects that are the same except they are 3 different sizes. Ask which is big and which is small. So then there's chapter 2 overview. You're learning big and small, long and short, tall and short, heavy and light. Practice workbook solutions. And here we are, big and small, long and short, tall and short, heavy and light. Then there's the practice, and then you have your workbooks. Chapter 3, patterns, movement patterns, sound patterns, creating patterns, practicing, and some workbooks. It introduces chapter vocabulary. So chapter 3, patterns. It also has snacks and things that you could eat. It has the storybooks that you may use for this chapter. Blackline Masters. The Blackline Masters can be found on their website. Movement patterns. The movement patterns create AB patterns using movement. So it could be jump, hop, things of that nature for movement patterns. Sound patterns create AB patterns, AAB patterns, and ABB patterns using this. So it could be clap, snap, or clap, snap, something like that for sound patterns using those methods of patterns. Then here your child will be creating patterns. Let's look at the workbook, textbook 40. Here they're creating patterns. Let's look here. I love making patterns with my train cars, using linking cubes to make the same color patterns I made. The first pattern is black and white, so they'll get the linking cubes and they'll go black, white, black, white, black, white. And then they will make their own, and then they get to color in these linking cubes. Maybe they chose green, yellow. They'll color it in green, yellow. Right, so we have patterns, there's practice, and then, of course, there's the workbook. Chapter 4, numbers 1 through 5, the overview. They're learning how to count to 5. They're learning how to count backwards from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Count on and count back review. Now they're counting objects with one-to-one correspondence from 1 through 5. They're going to be able to identify how many, and then also realizing that how many doesn't mean that the number changes if the pattern of the items change. So you have your 5 frame and your 10 frame that'll be introduced into these lessons, material, storybooks, and all that good stuff. There's the counting 1 through 5. It's introducing some nursery rhymes and things like that to introduce counting backwards. And then this is the review, and then the one-to-one correspondence, counting up to 3 objects. And then we have a graph here in lesson 8 in the learn. Discuss page 59. Ask students to count the number of blocks in each column and ask them to tell you why the dots are at the bottom of each column. Read Alex's directions to them and have them complete the task. 59. So let's turn to page 59 so we can look at this closer. So here is the tower that they'll be coloring. So they'll use color the tower that has 2 squares in it purple. So they'll color that purple, color the tower that has 3 squares in it yellow, and so forth. Count up to 5 objects. How many? And then we are into chapter 5. Chapter 5 is numbers to 5. So your child will be using 5 frames with their numbers, and this is also helpful with one-to-one correspondence. It's great practice for mental math and for subitizing. So they have activities that will be introducing your child to that 5 frame. All right. How many? You're still using 5 frames now with the numbers. All right, and now we're into the workbooks and chapter 6 overview. Chapter 6 is going to be introducing the students into numbers to 10. This is one that is actually free on the website if you wanted to look at what some of the samples are. They offer this sample. Lesson 1, starting with number 0. Counting to 10. It's using some songs, stories. There were 10 in the bed. You're counting up to 7 objects. You're using a 10 frames for counting objects beyond 5, right? Counting up to 9 objects, counting up to 10 objects. How many? So this will be teaching your children to begin counting, doing their systematic counting. And here you are at the workbook. Workbook pages at the end, and chapter 7. Chapter 7 is numbers to 10 part 2. So they'll still be learning about numbers to 10. And then after chapter 10, you're at the end. So whenever you see that you need to use a black line master, you can go to their website and then you can find the black line master that you need. It already has the list here if you want to print them out and put them aside. Okay, so PKB has the same idea. You're starting at chapter 8 and you're going on to chapter 15, I believe it was, chapter 13. All right, so let's see, where does chapter PKB start? So PKB starts with the ordinal numbers, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, shapes and solids, comparing sets, composing and decomposing numbers, exploring addition and subtraction, and then a cumulative review. All right, so let's look here. Chapter 8, this is our first chapter, and you're learning the ordinal numbers, first, second, and third, fourth, and fifth. And then you have your materials, your storybooks, and then your explore. Second and third, fourth and fifth. Practice, we have our workbooks. And now we're into chapter 9. So lesson 1 is cubes, cylinders, and spheres. Lesson 2 is learning about cubes. Lesson 3 is learning about positions. So these are the positions in front of, behind, beside, inside, and so forth. And how you introduce that to the child is by getting animal counters in a small paper cup. Give them a couple of minutes to play with their counters with a partner and have the animals change locations, describing where their animals move. Then you'll tell them that they'll be training their animals using their paper cups. Give them directions for where the animals must be placed using positional words, and be sure to include these terms. So these are the terms. Then of course we have the learn activity, and then we have build with solids. All right, then we have rectangles and circles, squares, triangles, the learning those shapes, and then there's the review. Squares, circles, rectangles, and triangles in practice. Then we have the workbooks. The next one is comparing sets for chapter 10. You'll be matching objects, which set has more, which set has fewer, more or fewer, right? So that's what we'll be doing in this lesson. Which set has more, which set has fewer, more or fewer, and of course using our textbook to learn and then go into depth. And then you have chapter 11, compose and decompose. So you're going to be learning about the term altogether, and you have 2 sections of those. Show me, this is going to be your identifying sets. It says record compositions of numbers to 5 using 5 frame cards. What's the other part? Find the missing part of numbers within 5. And then you have 2 parts of that, and then you have your practice. So what's the other part? Explore. Give each pair of students a small paper cup containing 5 animal counters and a blank 5 frame. Have students tell you how many counters they have, and then tell them that they are going to play a game called How Many Are Hiding. One of these students in each pair will shake up the cup and pour out the animals, while the other student closes her eyes. The first student will hide 1 or more of the counters under the cup, and the other student will place the visible counters on a black 5 frame card. Then try to tell how many are missing and have students take turns hiding and deducing the number missing. So that's the explore for that activity, and then you have to learn. All right, what's the other part? Practice lesson 2, and then you have your practice. And you have chapter 12, explore addition and subtraction, adding to 5 part 1 and adding to 5 part 2. 2 parts make a whole, how many in all? Then you're going into subtraction within 5, part 1 and part 2, how many are left? And then there's the practice. All right, so chapter opener, the discussion page, the learn, the activity. Let's look at the lesson here. So the learn, have students look at page 60 and read Sophia's speech bubble. Have them complete the task. So let's look at page 60. Okay, so match each picture showing 2 parts to the picture that shows the whole. The first one is done for you. So this is 1 and 1 make 2. 1 and 2 make 3. 2 and 2 make 4, and so forth. So this is adding to 5, the first lesson. And then you have lesson 2. I'm always interested in how curriculums introduce addition when you're looking at pre-K curriculums, and also when you're looking at kindergarten curriculums. I'm always interested in how do they introduce addition and then subtraction, right? So here we go. Lesson 2, explore. Have students remove their shoes. Take the shoes and mix them in piles on the floor. Have students work together to pair the shoes and line up the pairs along a wall. When they have finished lining up the shoes, have them check the line of shoes to be sure that each shoe has a match. That's the explore. The learn. Ask how many shoes are in what color, and etc., etc. And so then you have lesson 2 activity. Look and talk. 1 shoe off and 1 shoe on. Make 2 shoes in all. And then it has a riddle, right? And then we have lesson 3, 2 parts make a whole. Lesson 4, how many in all. Lesson 5, subtract within 5, right? And then you have the next learn activity. Circle the number that shows how many are left. We see that one has left. So there were 4 all together, and then 1 left. This one, there were 5 kittens, right? And 1 left, and now there are only 4 left. Subtract within 5, part 2, small group center, and then workbooks. And then chapter 13 is a cumulative review of pre-K-A and pre-K-B. And it will go into it has the chapter opener, as they all do, and now you're reviewing, you're matching and coloring, big and small, heavy and light, count to 5, counting 5 objects, 0, everything that you've learned in a lesson. And it's great because if your child has forgotten any of it, you can go back to the lessons and see what else they need help with. And then you're down to the final workbook pages. And so now I just want to do a thorough flip through the workbooks. All of the workbooks looks like. So exercise 2, coloring, and if you want, you can fast forward through. I'm going to fast forward through this part and just play some music.
Subscribe for more videos and flip throughs. Thanks for watching.